Hello world and all who inhabit it. My name is Blue. I am 22 years old and I'm originally from North Wales. I have been living in London now for the past 4 years. Moved here to get my degree in musical theatre and professional dance. I graduated with first honours degree last year. As of now, I am an unemployed, self-represented performer and creative in this very scary but also very exciting season of figuring out what comes next. I came across this book a while ago called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, but at the time I didn't feel like I was in a position to fully commit myself to it. However, now in this very awkward in-between period, I've been reflecting a lot on the challenges and the hurdles that I've faced over the past year, and I feel like now I'm ready to really commit myself to it. For those who don't know, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron is a 12-week course designed to help artists rediscover their passions, reconnect to their creativity, and take the appropriate steps towards changing their lives. Initially, I was planning to do this on my own, as in my own time. However, I fear that I might not be present, or I feel that I wouldn't show up for myself. And so to hold myself accountable and fully commit to this course, I will be documenting the experience. Hence, I think filming my journey also kind of goes with the objective behind the program. This idea of creating and putting my creative work out there. And of course, possibly if there are people watching this video who are in the same creative rut that I'm in at the moment, maybe it can inspire anyone else who is feeling stuck or uncertain in their own creative path. So I'm not an active poster. I don't really share my life online, especially in areas that are personal to me or areas that I lack confidence in at times. But this journey is all about addressing those issues and finding the confidence within myself and my ability. And I hope that in 12 weeks time I can watch this video, look at the person I was and see noticeable improvements, and just finally have faith in my work. If anybody watching this has done The Artist's Way or is currently doing it or is starting it, then I would absolutely love to hear your experience. It's great to have an external perspective on this kind of thing. Of course, if you're wanting to follow along, then feel free to subscribe so you don't miss any updates. Upon reading the opening pages for The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron sets this spiritual and philosophical foundation for the course. She introduces the topic spiritual electricity, which is essentially an energy that you can align with to connect with the creative force of the universe. Imagine that the universe is this vast electrical sea. When you open yourself up to creativity, you're being an active part of that sea. When I read this segment, when you do something that you're passionate about and you're in that flow, it does almost feel like an out-of-body experience. It feels like the creation is flowing through you. As a dancer, when I'm in a flow of movement, I get really into it. It's almost as if I'm watching myself dance. Like, I'm 100% conscious, but I'm just not in my body. It's like I'm elsewhere, and then when I'm out of that flow, I'm back in my body and back in my reality. So I completely get what she's saying when she says that creativity is an energy rather than an action. I've just pulled a massive hair. I don't know what's going on. I'm just shedding constantly. I'm getting my hair done in like 2 weeks time. They could only fit me in 2 weeks time. Okay, so give me a break. So she's really long. I mean, I'm trying. Look, I'm trying. And I think she looks a bit cute. I mean, she's not what I would usually... whatever. Now, I think I want to note that during the opening pages, Cameron does refer to this force as the great creator and refers to God quite frequently throughout the book, which, you know, it kind of made me think, is this program biblical? Does it cater to more Christian beliefs? However, she has said that for your journey, you can substitute this term to whatever aligns with your personal beliefs. For me, this would be the universe, or like higher power. But whether you have those beliefs or not, I think the important thing to note is that energy can emerge from you if you fully open yourself up to it. Embracing that openness will also trigger synchronicity within your life, which means that when you're aligned, you tend to attract more opportunities because you're in this energy vibration that's connecting you to an experience that also emits that vibration. It's essentially like the law of attraction or subconscious manifestation, that when you envision something to be, the universe has to put things in your reality that reinforces that belief. So perceiving yourself as creative will energetically attract more opportunities that align with you and resonate with your creativity. Cameron also discusses 2 pivotal tools for creative recovery, those being the morning pages and the artist's date. So for every single morning from the day that I start this program, which is tomorrow, I have to write 3 pages of longhand stream of consciousness. And you're instructed to write absolutely anything that comes into your mind, no matter how negative or stupid or bizarre, simply documenting a 3-page long thought train. Now, you're probably wondering, why do we have to do this every morning? What is the purpose behind this? They silence something known as the censor, and the censor is that voice at the back of your head that's saying you're not good enough, or you're untalented, or you can't do this because of whatever. And it's designed to appear safe, but actually it's blocking your original thought. Your censor is something that limits you. It prohibits you from thinking outside the box, being in your own lane, taking risks. Writing in the morning pages lets you dump all of the censor's thoughts onto paper, which ultimately weakens its power. So over time, will eventually eradicate fear and doubt and perfectionism, creating space for new ideas. Cameron also stresses that the morning pages are to be kept confidential. Nobody is to read them, not even myself. I'm quite literally supposed to write the pages and put them away. So really, the morning pages aren't about the actual writing at all. It's about being present and showing up for yourself every morning to just declutter, disarm that inner critic, and make room for your creative self to speak. Alongside the morning pages, the artist's day involves you, the artist, taking yourself on a date. It's a block of time put aside specifically for you to commit to nurturing your creativity. And your artist date could be as simple as going on a walk or going to see a film. It doesn't need to be this extravagant and expensive weekly event, which is kind of a relief. As long as you're dedicating time to your inner artist, then I guess it really doesn't matter what the date entails. However, there are some guidelines that I need to follow. The date must be at least 2 hours. It should either be an act of self-care or actually working on your art. And finally, you are to do the date alone. Nobody else is to do this date with you. It's a time to connect with yourself as opposed to connecting with other people. Creativity isn't this endless output. You know, you're having to keep refilling it with experiences and imagery and media. That's how you can overcome blocks and ultimately keep your art alive. So, to conclude the opening pages, Cameron has instructed that I am to sign a creative contract, I guess as a way to affirm to myself that I am committing to the course. So I'm gonna read it for you right now. I, Bleu Brazier, understand that I'm undertaking an intensive guided encounter with my own creativity. I commit myself to the 12-week duration of this course. I, Bleu Brazier, commit to weekly reading, daily morning pages, a weekly artist date, and the fulfillment of each week's tasks. I, Bleu Brazier, further understand that this course will raise issues and emotions for me to deal with. I, Bleu Brazier, commit myself to excellent self-care, adequate sleep, diet, exercise, and pampering for the duration of the course. So I will be officially starting the course tomorrow. I think I just wanted to address all the context first before I actually get stuck into it. I don't want to be overwhelmed. So tomorrow I'm gonna do my morning pages, do the reading, and we're going to talk about what the week entails. So the first week of the Artist's Way initiates your creative recovery. This week is all about establishing safety, which will enable you to explore your creativity without fear. In the first few reading pages of this week, Cameron explains the notion of being a shadow artist. People who want to create, but they just don't give themselves permission to. They live beside the creativity and not actually in it. So let's say there's an individual, right? And they've always had dreams of becoming a writer. That's their passion, that's what they want to do with their lives, they want to publish their own material, but they end up becoming an editor. That would make them a shadow artist because they are encompassing the real artist by becoming someone that supports them. And it isn't just restricted to occupational roles. A shadow artist could be someone who idolizes someone else's work, or might end up marrying them or becoming friends with the artist just so that they are around that creative energy. There's a few reasons why this happens. Could be to do with childhood discouragement, being told that art is self-indulgent. They might compare themselves to other artists and believe that they're not good enough, fear of failure or ridicule. Shadow artists are blocked, they are limited. They are drawn to creative energy because deep down they are artists themselves. They just don't have the courage to claim it. Cameron adds on to say that if you yourself believe that you are a shadow artist, you've got to recognize whether you are living in someone else's dream, and you are to make effort in nurturing your inner artist. And that's all about just not criticizing or demanding perfection, just taking the time to look inward and nurture what you have with patience. So the next segment talks about your worst enemy. Core negative beliefs. This refers to what I mentioned yesterday about the censor. It's those deep hidden stories that we tell ourselves. These beliefs, or otherwise known as blurts, live under the surface of your subconscious mind, usually absorbed from childhood, family, teachers, culture, even religion, and they are there to sabotage us. They stop us from even trying. They feel like absolute truths, but in reality they are just beliefs, they are not facts. Maybe a teacher has told you that you're never gonna be a real painter, or your parents have said that art is a waste of time, why don't you go get yourself a real job? Maybe you saw the stereotype that artists are crazy and selfish and poor. Each time something like that happens, your brain runs with it and paints it as a core belief that you deem to be truthful. Alternatively, this segment highlights your ally. Affirmations. Affirmations are positive statements that directly counter negative self-talk. Can't lie, they do feel a bit corny at first, but repetition is key for training your inner voice to stop attacking you and start supporting you. Some examples of positive affirmations might be, I am a talented artist, or I have the right to create. Creating helps build my confidence. These simple but effective statements affirm to yourself that creativity is a birthright and it's not a luxury. They rewire your brain to erase that fear and doubt and criticism. So after completing the reading for this week, I've learned that many of us aren't blocked because we're lazy or we're untalented or we don't work hard enough. We're blocked because of shame and fear, inherited beliefs. By recognizing the shadow artist within us, dismantling negative beliefs and replacing them with affirmations, we slowly start to rebuild a safe and supportive environment for our creativity. One of the tasks was that every morning this week I'm to set my alarm half an hour earlier than usual. This is so I can dedicate more morning time for my morning pages. I wrote 3 pages in 15 minutes and 30 seconds. I then headed downstairs and grabbed a very much needed coffee. I didn't mention this yesterday, but I've actually used the morning pages before in my routine. Back in high school, I was seeing a therapist for my anxiety and depressive episodes, and after seeing them for a few weeks, they had introduced me to the pages. However, the intention behind them was quite different. I mean, back then it was more about decluttering to make sense of my feelings. Just a way for me to stop overthinking shit and to think about things logically. As well, there wasn't a limit. Like, I think I just set a 5-minute timer and I just written as much as I could in that time. So it's kind of strange revisiting this exercise almost a decade on. But you know, it's also quite interesting to use this practice not only to declutter my negative thoughts, but to make room for creative flow. I'm gonna say, committing to the pages this morning was quite difficult. It's literally the thing that I've got to do the second I wake up. Before coffee, before listening to music, before screen time, my wrist was literally about to snap. Like, she put in the shift of her life. And honestly, I did not know what to write. I'm not kidding. Like, I used half the page just writing, I don't know what to write, till finally my mind went elsewhere. But it's literally day one. Only the universe knows how this is gonna go. But I do hope it gets easier, because girl. Another task for this week was to write down my blurts that I have about creativity and to turn them into positive affirmations. Guess this is to help train your brain to think more optimistically. So I began just brainstorming some thoughts that I have surrounding my creativity, and eventually I managed to get 10 of these beliefs onto paper. I then took some time to convert these blurts into positive affirmations, and I am to read the positive affirmations to myself every day this week. Okay, so I'm not going to delve into all 10, but to give you some examples, one of those beliefs that I'd written was that everything I make has to be perfect. You know, I want to be proud of the work that I do. I think that pride sometimes puts a little bit of pressure on me to create something that's this impeccable standard, but this way of thinking is toxic. So instead, I give myself permission to create freely without pressure or the need to achieve perfection. Additionally, I had written, other people are more creative than me. This industry literally runs on judgment. When you decide to become an artist, you are signing yourself up to be judged. And because of that, as well in the industry, it's incredibly hard to not compare yourself or your work to other people's. Well, you start to think, you know, this person can offer this and this person can offer that. What makes my work so special? Why would they choose me when they have so many other brilliant options? I changed this blurt to, my creativity is unique and valuable to me. No one else can express my art the way that I do. The last example I'm gonna give is, if I try, I'll fail. I do believe that there is a little shadow artist within me. I love to consume art. You know, I admire so many people's work, and it feels safe for me sometimes to just absorb. Sometimes I feel like the work that I might put out there won't impact people the same way that I am impacted from other people's work. To transform this belief, I put, every attempt is progress. Experimenting helps me grow as an artist. Hi all, I did my morning pages this morning as well as read through the affirmations that I'd written yesterday. Just had my lunch and I'm ready to delve into the next few tasks for this week. The first exercise was a time travel task, which is an exercise that involves reflecting on the past. And I had to create a list of 3 old enemies of my creative self-worth, people who have said or done things that have made me question my ability. The book says that these people are part of your historic monsters and they're part of your monster hall of fame. Okay, look, I get that sometimes people have off days. I get that sometimes people aren't themselves. You know, they might do things that they're not very proud of. But I think it's a little harsh to pin them as monsters. Like, just because I had a bad experience with them does not make them bad people. Although I get that this exercise is for you to acknowledge when people have done you wrong, so you're able to grieve those experiences to move forward. After listing 3 of these monsters, I had to select one of them and write about the experience in detail. When I'd finished, to close things off, I crossed the horror story out in a red marker. I'm gonna tilt you up a little bit. Okay, so to fill you in, around last spring, it was coming to the end of my uni experience. For one of my 3rd year musicals, I was playing La Cienega in Bring It On, and it was an absolutely incredible experience. You know, the team were great. We had such a laugh, you know, I was doing everything, like it was great. And of course, around this time, everyone is looking for representation. During rehearsals for Bring It On, I got an email, and this email was from an agent that was actually in one of my top 3 agencies that I wanted to sign with. They were the first agent to email me. They said, hi, we've come across your footage. We were wondering if you'd like to meet with us. So of course, I responded and I said, yes. After we've done show week, I'm more than happy to come and meet with you. I went to have this meeting. I went into it feeling very hopeful. Obviously, I've just come off the show. I go into this building, someone collects me and takes me to their office. They sit down on one end of the table and I sit on the other end. And they said to me, so, Blue, what is it that you want to be represented for? Where do you see your career going? I said to them, well, I have been training for 5 years now. I'm kind of wanting to continue in this avenue. So they're like this, like looking at me and holding their pen. They're not writing anything. They're just like there. Because of that, I was getting a bit nervous. I'm starting to talk more. They intervene and they say, okay, so you want to do musical theatre. What kind of productions, what kind of shows do you see yourself in? So then I went ahead and listed all of the shows and productions that I wanted to do. They pop their pen down and they say, I don't think you're gonna work in theatre. They went on to say that they saw my footage and they just said that it wasn't strong enough. They were saying that in order for me to succeed in this field, there needed to be a lot of work done. Hearing those words was absolutely heartbreaking. They went through like all the musicals that I said I wanted to do and they were picking apart like why this wouldn't work. I just felt it was like bullets. She was in the first 5 to 10 minutes of this meeting. Why would you invite me to a meeting? I think if I had emailed them and asked for a meeting, it might have been a different story. So I asked them, what would you want to represent me for? And they said, well, we invited you here today because you've got a very unique look, which thank you, but I'm not a model. Hey, if you want to put a camera in front of me, go ahead, girl. But that's not what I want to do. That's not the career that I've chosen for myself. At this point, I'm literally holding back tears. I'm literally shaking. I just felt so vulnerable in that moment. We conclude the meeting. I get my things. I leave the building. I just burst into tears. I couldn't bring myself to get the train home, so I had to just walk around the block twice. Phoebe Bridgers literally blaring in my ears. And then I called CJ. Funny thing was, CJ knew that I was having that meeting that day. When I called her, she was like, hi, how was it? I just went, oh, it was awful. I think the shit part about it was the fact that that was the very first step that I was taking into my career. Like, I just finished my 3rd year musical. Everyone is meeting with different agents and this is my first meeting. I hear nothing but great things. How do you even respond to that? How do you even move forward from that experience? To be honest with you, I just wanted to quit. A million things running in my head and I was like, you know, I could do something else. Like I could get another degree. I could, you know, change my path. I could do something. If you were in that position and someone invited you to just simply criticize you, I doubt that you would take it very constructively. And look, I mean no disrespect to this agent or this agency, but going to that meeting, like, it just changed my perception around agents completely. I think I pinned agents as these really scary people after that. When the meeting ended, they said that they were going to be in touch. So after all of that, they actually offered me representation. They actually said, yeah, we would love to represent you. Were we in a different meeting? Like, did I actually meet with you? Just wild. It was like, yeah, it just did not make sense to me. Maybe this was some sort of strategy. I don't even know. So I did decline. I think that experience was the beginning of a very difficult journey. Put a little bit of a shit stain on my self-esteem. Even today, I still think about that meeting and how hurt I was by it. But you know, it's been over a year now. I can't change what has happened. The only thing I can change is how I move forward. So to finish the tasks for today, I had to write a letter in response to what happened, as if I'm writing to the editor in my defense. This was quite an abstract sort of task, but I felt a lot better by doing it. It was just nice to put my emotions into something physical and to just unwind my frustration and give myself closure. I really enjoyed the setup that I did yesterday, so I'm going to do it again for today. See, my window is here, so the light hits me really nicely, but my desk is over there, so it's a bit of a sticky one. Also, ignore that. I'm going to sort her out eventually, okay? I continued working on some of the tasks for this week, with my first exercise being another time travel task. Alternatively to yesterday, I need to list 3 champions of my creative self-worth, which are people that wish my creativity well. I found it really difficult to limit myself to just 3 champions because there are multiple people in my life that positively contribute to my creativity. So I thought I would split the 3 champions, each giving them a type of creative ally. One type I've named the collaborator. This is for someone who most of the time works alongside me. Of course, that would obviously be my friend CJ. I have known CJ for 7 years. So our relationship, you know, it's been really eventful, it's very complex, and we've gained most of our life experience joined at the hip, but throughout the ups and downs, she's still been my closest friend, and I hope that is the case for many years to come. We created Bleu and CJ Choreography just under 18 months ago as a way to showcase our creative ideas as a duo, and I'm incredibly proud of the work we've achieved together since starting. We discuss ideas, we put them to action, and we make each other's creative process feel less lonely. The next exemplar is the mentor. So I wanted to look at people from my past who have guided me at some point in my creative life. The mentor is somebody with experience who offers feedback and guidance. I'm handing this to a teacher that I had back in high school, and I knew him as Mr. Gowdy. I didn't really have friends throughout my high school years. I would occasionally just drift between different groups, and sadly I did not find my tribe in that time. So I spent most of my lunchtime in the drama studio with this one drama teacher who I have so much respect for. I just felt like I could talk to him about anything, and although he was my teacher, I still considered him a really good friend. He always challenged me to grow and learn as a performer and never once stopped supporting my vision. And we occasionally still check in on each other, which is, you know, it's nice knowing that someone you once looked up to is still around to cheer you on. The last archetype would be someone that I call the encourager. I simply cannot narrow this one type to just one specific person. I am so grateful for the friendship groups that I have in my life now. And hey, it took most of my life to find them, but it was worth the wait. The encouragers go to people who lift me up emotionally. They are people that believe in me, remind me of my worth, and give me confidence. Some of them I live with, have lived with, some of them I hang out with, that I work with or have worked with, some of them I trained with, and all of them I proudly name my friends. Additionally to this task, I am to start a compliment log, which requires me to record all the compliments that I receive. I think generally as humans, we tend to focus on the negative things that people say about us rather than the positive. I guess because it's evolutionary that we pay more attention to threat than to comfort. And creating this log is a way to remind myself of the positive. That whenever I'm feeling rejected or unworthy, I can look back on the things that people have said that contradict those beliefs. I wanted to write these in my iPad because I can't seem to write on paper recently because of these absolute talons glued to my fingertips. The last task for today is that I need to write another letter, only this time it's a letter of encouragement, a written thank you to myself. I was really excited for today because, you know, those letters that I'd written, I basically have to mail them to myself. So I got some envelopes, I wrote my name and address on each one of them. Obviously, I'm not going to show you my address. I then went ahead and cut them out of my notebook, which was really sad because I hate butchering my notebooks, but had to be done. So there were some ridges on the paper when I cut them out, so I went ahead and cropped those because I wanted to make it all nice and pretty for when they arrived. I then went and folded each of the letters and I put them in their respective envelopes. I actually don't know which one I put in which, so it's definitely going to be a surprise when they arrive. I did it with the other one, yes, there we go. Then I pulled back the sticky stuff so they were nice and sealed, headed my way to the post office, bought some second class stamps, and then I went ahead and put them in the post box. The task for today asks the question, if you had 5 imaginary lives to lead, what would you do for each of them? When I tell you, my brain exploded because I've just had a theatre kid head for the past 15 years, so I never envisioned what my life would be like not trying to be a performer. The very first thing that came to me was those people who renovate their vehicles to live in. It's like a house, but it's on wheels. Oh my god. They're called motorhomes, aren't they? For fuck's sake, know what I mean? I see videos all the time of people living in these cars. They've got a bed, a small kitchen, toilet, shower, even a seating area. There's a dining room in the back of the car, and you travel the world. And if you go with someone, like, what a freeing and intimate life that would be. What would you do for work though? Like, it would have to be an online job, surely. Now, what if I was a traveling choreographer? Like, bounce from city to city, 1 week there doing a music video, 2 weeks there doing a festival, in a motorhome. Is that real? Like, do people actually do that? Before I wanted to be a performer, I actually wanted to be a fashion designer, so I think that deserves to go on the list. But also, do I want to be the one wearing the clothes? Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'd be someone a bit like the Baroness, or like Miranda Priestley, or Edna mode. I probably live a life as a makeup artist, let's be real. Problem is though, I can't do other people's makeup very well. So maybe it's like designing makeup, or it's like making makeup content and I use my face as a canvas. Leading on from this, I would so be a drag queen. The only reason why I don't do drag now is because, well, it's a lot. You're basically buying for 2 people, you work nights, it's physically demanding, and the pay's inconsistent. I would so be a drag queen, but I just don't have the time, energy, or the money. My favourite animals are sharks, because they're really cool, really fascinating creatures. So maybe I'd go like cage diving in Australia. On second thoughts. Don't get me wrong, sharks are great, but if I was in the middle of the ocean and there were hundreds circling me, I would be shitting myself. So maybe I could admire the ocean from afar, like a marine biologist or something. Those people at aquariums who just tell you about the animals, that's fun. Or a mermaid, like with the tails and in the tank. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, I think. Maybe I'd be a poet. I mean, it's not very exhilarating. I like writing poetry, but ooh, what about a ghost hunter? Or like a paranormal investigator? No matter weird shit you'd see, like you'd never need to watch a horror film again, would you? Love horror, so why not live my life through it? Maybe I'd make horror films, or like make the special effects, you know, like the prosthetic. We've basically got 5 lives there. I've got to choose one and do that thing. And looking at the list, the only one I could do really is the makeup artist. So I thought I'd tie 2 of the lives together and create a drag look. It's not full drag, you know, like I'm not popping a weave on, I'm not shaving my brows off, tucking. Mate, I don't even have lashes. I'm just gonna paint this mug until it falls off. My inspo is colourful, feminine. It's given Chapel Rowan meets Aquaria meets Barbie's Dizzle and Bibble. We are going big and we are going home. And that is the complete look finished. It took about an hour and a half for me to do. But you know, it was nice to live that 1 hour and a half as my makeup, drag, artist, imaginary life. It's shit now because I'm gonna have to wipe it off in like 2 minutes. So once I did my morning pages, I freshened up and left the house because my task for today was to take myself on a walk. I decided to head to the park near my house to be at one with nature. The weather was absolutely gorgeous. The trees were starting to get browner, so I can feel autumn's on its way. The park was really quiet, there wasn't really much to report. It was just a nice, lovely, serene walk. So I've just come home and I'm really excited because today is the day that I'm doing my artist date. To tie it in with the theme, I'm going to be making a vision board to hang in my room. If you're not familiar with what a vision board is, it's a collage of images that represent my goals and my dreams and the things in life that I want to create. It's a creative tool to help you visualize what you want. It helps you focus your energy. It gives you motivation. So as of now, like my room is very one-sided, like all of this part is decorated, but there's like barely anything in the other side. I'm wanting to put it here. I've been waiting to put something special up here because it's right opposite where I sleep. So now I'm going to be able to put my vision board there, and every time I go to bed at night, every time I wake up in the morning, I'm going to be hit with this positive, inspiring wall decoration. So I started by just placing all the images out in front of me because I didn't want it to be placed randomly, like I wanted it to have some sort of organised chaos. So I decided to crop out some of the images to give it more shape and started pinning the images on the board with drawing pins. I bought some hanging strips as well and then popped it onto the wall. And when you look at that, oh, doesn't she look gorgeous? She looks like organised chaos, and that's exactly what I wanted it to look like. I've stuck with the black and white theme. I've got loads of pictures on there, loads of affirmations, and I think that one might be my favourite. So after every week we are to do a check-in. This is so I can line up the week I've had and reflect on my progress. So we've acknowledged the foundation of the course, we've explored the subjects that will accompany me in this program, as well as looking at the topic of the week, recovering a sense of safety. This week I learned how to identify shadow artists and what to do to prevent becoming one. I've learned how negative beliefs can sabotage your creative energy. Implementing positive affirmations counteracts those beliefs. I've reflected on the people who have supported me and who've undermined my creative self-worth, as well as mailing self-written letters to myself as a way to process. I've explored other possible lives that I would lead if I went to lead this one, and I took some time to take my artistic self to the great outdoors. The artist's way, I think, is less about how to become an artist, and it's more about removing the limitations to unlock your artistic potential. By far the most difficult part of the week were the morning pages. I did the morning pages every single day this week, but I am not kidding. Even the 7th time I did it, when I did it today, it still felt as hard as the first time I did it. As of now, I don't feel like I'm experiencing the benefits of it quite yet, but I do think that'll come in time. Of course, I'm gonna stick with them, even though it's incredibly hard to find the motivation sometimes. And even though I've had previous experiences with them, albeit under different circumstances, I stand on the fact that I don't think this is like an easy task. It might sound like the most simple activity to do, but like it really is. Of course, you would have seen that for my first artist date, I decided to create a vision board, and it's very reassuring, inspiring, positive addition to my wall. I think it ignites artistic expression. I think it's an act of self-care. It ties in with the theme of the week. I put it all together myself. It took 2 hours, so I definitely think it qualifies. I've got to admit though, there was one task that didn't go as planned. If you remember my first task, I had to wake up half an hour earlier in the morning. And I did that every day, bar one. I got up at 1:30 in the afternoon. I was really annoyed, although I still did my morning pages, even though they weren't in the morning. Generally, this week has been a bit intense. Don't get me wrong, I'm so glad I finally started this program. I'm feeling more inspired, I'm feeling more content. I think creating this video as well is helping my confidence. But there was a lot to unpack this week. It was a lot of brain work, a lot of thinking, a lot of reflecting. Definitely a somewhat healing experience, but I fear that it's not gonna get easier. I kind of thought for week one it would be like, you know, like a building block, a gentle foundation, but no, like you dive in head first. This is week one. I don't know what position I'm going to be in 3, 7, 11 weeks to come. It's exciting, but you know, over the few weeks as my schedule gets tighter, I'm not exactly sure how many eggs I'm going to be putting into this basket. That is the future. I've got to take every day as it comes. I need to persevere. So I've officially completed week 1 of the artist's way. I really hope you enjoyed this week as much as I have. Super intrigued to see what next week brings and how I'm gonna move forward as an artist. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you in the next one.